mengine mabaya yamefanyika hapa na pale. Mbona watu wengine wamechukua iwe ni silaha mikononi miao na kutenda kitu kibaya? Tabu ya nchi hii si wananchi wa kawaida. Tabu ya nchi yetu, mimi ninavyoangalia, ni sisi viongozi wa siasa. Na mimi sina shaka kwamba sisi viongozi wa siasa wa vyama vyovyote, ambao manake huu ni wakati wa vyama vingi, tukimpatia Mwenyezi Mungu mioyo yetu, basi nafikiri mambo yetu itakuwa barabara.
It is not the parties that will make us succeed. It doesn't matter which party you want to join. But we Christians, we have one party called the Party of Jesus Christ, because that's where we're going. Some people are forgetting that even if you become a president or within a period of 2 to 3 years, you are on the way and you will go. Are you going that way or you will go that way?
Right, so that's from a museum, just highlighting what some of our leaders said. You remember Mwenje, and yes, as I told you there, yeah, very feisty. Just to refresh our memories, then some of the leaders that, of course, went before us. I wanted just to also pick up on what we have on the Pick Me Up today. Confucius, he has a quote there. He says that it does not matter how slowly you go, as long as you do not stop. It doesn't matter slowly how you go, as long as you do not stop, he said. And there's one editorial cartoon that also is showing a person who has been going slowly so far, as far as you can see, the rest is concerned. And now it has actually come up on the public podium. And we saw Raila now saying that he has not endorsed Kalonzo Musyoka. Maybe this will be a respite for him as well. It does not matter how slow you go, as long as you do not stop. And he's on the rest right now, as you can see it in this editorial cartoon. I don't know. Dan Maanzo, we can pick it up with you so far, with these latest developments as well. So it does not matter how slow he goes.
Yes.
Yeah? Confucius will tell him.
Yes.
Yes? So what do you think about the circling back of Right Honorable Raila Odinga? Did the media pick it as an endorsement? And what he was alleging actually was just an acknowledgement that he's been loyal, he's been by his side all through.
Yes, at Bala, the weekend we were in Bondo, and this was courtesy of a senator for Siaya, the Honorable Dr. Oburu, who was turning 80, and he thought there was a need to renew his Christian vows and to refocus, and that was best celebrated on his birthday. So he invited every senator and all friends and political friends, and therefore we found ourselves in Bondo, and I must say that we were welcomed very well by Honorable Raila Odinga and the family, and eventually we went to the university, and there was a very, very big function. There was a church service, and then after the church service, of course, politicians got to the podium. And one of the issues was to respond to the recent visit of President Ruto into the region. And Honorable Raila Odinga stated that when the President visited the region, was talking about, Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka candidature. He was talking about Raila not running again. Yet, it's not from us. So he said that Kenya Kwanza was trying to divide Azimio, or was trying to set up an agenda for Azimio. And he went on to say that, as Azimio, we're going to stay together as Azimio family. And he said, he has, you'll stand with his brother Kalonzo Musyoka, in all these things which happening. Nobody mentioned 2027. Honorable Raila Odinga did not mention 2027. But obviously we have been together for a long time, and we are now in the opposition together, and the opposition is a government in waiting. So eventually, Azimio will come together at an appropriate time, and they will decide who the presidential candidate will be then. And again, as you heard Honorable Saitoti talk from the memoirs, we are multi-party country, and therefore any political party can field its presidential candidate, or any coalition can field its presidential candidate. So I think some people are trying to set an agenda for Azimio. Azimio will deal with these activities. I am very sure as that moment approaches, depending on the political scenario then, and the matrices which will have come on board, it will be a good thing. But as a wiper party, this time around we have encouraged Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka, who has now been a running mate of Honorable Raila Odinga twice, and the other time he was number 3, and he still supported Azimio. This time around we will also be, we will be proposing to him as party members. We will propose him as a candidate, and there's nothing wrong with proposing Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka as a candidate. Then from there we will see the best formula which can make Azimio win.
All right, so they normally say that be like a stamp, yeah? Be like a postage stamp. Stick to one envelope until you get there.
Well, stickability, consistency are some of the principles of success. Yes, if you cannot keep on changing your sides every other day. There must be something you stand for, and there must be a cause we are rallying on. We know we have a cause. We currently one of the biggest crises in the country. The cost of living is very high. We have seen what the eroding of political parties can be. It means when you erode political parties, when there are no proper principles on staying with the party you are elected in, how that has diminished parliament, so that parliament ends up just like a rubber stamp to the executive, and the weakening of judiciary are some of the current issues we are dealing with politically. So we are there to monitor every day and to do our level best to make sure we give Kenya a better alternative leadership. Yes.
Right, thank you. And then we have this editorial cartoon today drawn by Stano. It's all about the cost of living and the fuel prices. And you can see the people who are being minced here will be actually smashed into smithereens, so to speak, by the fuel prices. The bottom-up economies. It's not really bottom-up economy anymore. It's actually fuel-up economy, according to Stano, as we can see there. Honorable Mugatana.
Yes.
5 shillings on top of 211. We're paying at 217 for a litre of fuel. What's happening?
Well, maybe
it's too early to say it's Israel and Gaza.
No. I'm not going to say that. I'm just going to say that we are all feeling the pain, and that, like we have all, earlier on made discussions on this table. My take is that this country also needs to look at its own capacity to produce oil. When we went to Talo,
yes,
in Turkana, Talo Oil production company there, I think we need to look at what can we also do, because if we have the resource, we also need to come into that league of oil production. And they told us it is commercially viable. We need to look at that option. It won't wholly insulate us from global factors, which I have argued here many times, that they are in fact the ones that are controlling. I have said it before here that OPEC countries had squeezed down their amount of oil production into the global markets. I have said here before that it's going into winter on the northern hemisphere. The demand is so much more higher. I've said here before that the disruption of the supplies from Russia because of their conflict with Ukraine has also affected the traditional supply. So we have a a reduction of the amount of fuel that is there. And this is a serious global factor. And so we should not blame the business people, as I've said here before, that if my landing costs are high and I need to survive in the game, I need to put a price that is sustainable. A big oil producing country like Nigeria, also they decided to remove all forms of subsidies. And the president became, a newly elected president, became very, very unpopular. But he did it by an executive order and saying, we cannot afford to maintain these subsidies anymore. So these are the realities that we are living in this country with. And maybe we need to start looking at those other options, like pushing our own oil producing capacity, and hope that the global factors are going to stabilize as time goes, like the predictions by the economists have said, that it will stabilize over time. But for now, it's going to be tough, and it's all going to be tough for all of us. And I have sort of started fearing, is it the 14th of every month? Because there's one guy in EPRA who comes out to say, the CEO, he makes that announcement, and I think he must be a very unpopular person in Kenya now, because every time he makes the announcement, it is not to go down, it's always to go up. So maybe 1 cent, and then next month he compensates up. So we are living in difficult times, and we must accept they are difficult times, but we are within the global economy, and we just have to deal with it as it is.
All right. Though we talk about the subsidy not being sustainable, and you mentioned Nigeria, and also in this particular forum we've discussed also the situation of Nigeria when we had the new president coming in and taking away the subsidy, and then there was a shock in the economy as well. Later they had to actually make a declaration of state of emergency because of lack of food that was really pegged because of pulling out this particular subsidy. So was there any rhyme or reason? If we don't have the subsidy, why wouldn't we have maintained then the fuel VAT at 8%? Was there any reason to increase it? You can take away the subsidy, but there's no reason to take it to 16% where it is right now. And then now we have the global factors, the externalities that are affecting this. So even as we're talking, everyone has trepidation and of course worries regarding the Israel and Gaza war, that we have the oil producing countries now who are largely Islamic, and we've taken our pronouncement as well regarding our stand with this particular war, that we are pro-Israel, according to what the president said. And we've had also the Muslim brothers really calling out, the government on this particular leaning on the Israel way, that we should go with the African Union position as it stands. So we are bound and we exposed, and our underbelly also is exposed on this. It seems it will not really stop at 217. Maybe Okongo Mogini will tell us, so what is the way forward? The government had talked about the stabilization fund. They need now, since the writing is on the wall, to be back on, the organizing table.
Yeah, I mean, Dibal, first, the leadership that is in office, the president and a number of leaders from the other coalition, the pronouncements they made before the election. They really hit the president who was in office then, President Kenyatta, on the issue of skyrocketing prices of oil, common commodities. So they were conscious that when you're in leadership, you can't sit back and just see the price of oil hitting the roof and you do nothing. You cannot see the prices of essential commodities going up and you do nothing, because at times you may not have any control on what is happening globally. That is granted, but you must do something to show that you are sensitive to the people that you lead. You cannot be a president who sits back and say, there is war in Israel, there is war in Russia, Kenyans are going angry, but I really don't care. This is not It's not my making. This is from the trends globally. No, you must do something. I know this is affecting many countries, Debal. If you go to places like Turkey, what the president has done is to double salaries of citizens so that you cushion them. But you can't have a situation in Kenya. Instead of salaries of Kenyans going up, you are getting a situation where the government is taxing Kenyans more. You cannot ignore the fact that the best way to cushion Kenyans is to go back to that issue of VAT. If you remove 8% of VAT tax, that price will drop down below 200 Debal. And that taxation it's a local initiative. It's not being affected by the global trends. And when there is inflation, Debal, what do? You assess the income of the people you lead. Because as we don't know about EPRA, I've heard you mention EPRA, as we know of the government of President William Ruto, the UDA administration, what are you doing to cushion Kenyans? You know, if you read today's newspapers, you have stories of Kenyans who are telling us that they can no longer afford to survive on 2 meals, on 3 meals. At best, they are doing 2. And the story you have here today is a Kenyan who is telling you Sukuma wiki which used to sell at 45 shillings a kilo has shot up to 61 shillings. He's telling you unga ya chapati, which used to retail at 121 shillings, has shot up to 181. 1 kilo of Irish potatoes that was 78 shillings is now going for 100 shillings. Now, even if it was me sitting in State House as the President of the Republic, I must consciously think on how I'm going to cushion Kenyans, Debal. Either you increase their salary, you review the taxation measures, or you bring a subsidy for oil so that these Kenyans can survive. What pride is there for you as a president to lead a people who are daily crying of anger, who are facing starvation, who may drop dead any minute? And I think unless the president wants to serve one term, he must think seriously on the measures that the government will put in place to make life comfortable for Kenyans. Look at the taxes we have introduced. There is the housing levy that has hit the pay slips of Kenyans. NITA has recruited KRA to collect their levies. That's another taxation. If you read the health bills that were enacted, we have hidden the deductions that Kenyans are going to face as we implement NHI. But we have given that power to the cabinet secretary to make it easy. You know, if you look at the National Health Insurance Bill that has been passed by Parliament, the amount of contribution, the 2.75%, has been removed. Why? Because I think the government wants to look for an easier way of introducing it through regulations, which is easier to pass. So if we proceed this way, we're going to create a big backlash from Kenyans. And I think by the time we go to 2027, those of us who are in UDA will not be able to even face Kenyans. You know, in America in 1928, President Albert Hoover was elected into office in the time when Americans were facing a big depression. And he made a number of promises to Americans. He said, I'll address your concerns, the cost of living and the likes. But he did nothing. And his rating was higher than William Ruto's. It was 58%. By the time we were facing the elections of 1932, Debal, his popularity had dropped to 37% because he was not able to fulfill the promises. The Mama Mboga in this country, the border, you know, the hustler, was pregnant with expectation that once UDA administration puts down the Bible the way they put it, life will become easier. Instead, what you have seen in that cartoon, life is becoming unbearable for Kenyans. And the only person who is held responsible is the president and his government. And that's why in the election of 1932, Franklin Roosevelt had a very easy way into office. The rejection of the incumbent government was overwhelming. Nobody wanted to hear anything about the administration of President Uva. I'm looking at the situation in Kenya like what played out in America in 1932. The situation, I was in Nyamira over the weekend. You meet people, they don't understand that we are not in government. They ask you, what are you people doing as parliamentarians? We are not able to survive. Life has become so difficult for us. And you try to tell them, it's you guys who elected Ruto. They tell you, no, we do not elect him. Say, now, did he take himself to office? So we're being asked so many questions to the level that I'm feeling that Waheshimiwa here who are from Muda should go back to the village and explain to the people what happened to the promises.
Can we hear from one buyer before
what happened?
First of all,
what happened to the promises? No, by the way, I'm being honest. And, I'm being very honest. If you speak, I can tell you the charges where I was. Mungatana is my friend. I can invite him to travel with me over the weekend, and you will see the kind of I don't want to call it confrontation, but the kind of questions that you face from the people you represent. You are not able to, you try to tell them as we are not in government, but they tell you, you can't sit back as we are suffering. You are our senator, we elected you.
All right, let's hear from Owen Baya. Good to see you, Owen Baya. It's been a while also since you're here. I think you're out of the country, but welcome back. But just listening to what Okongo Morgan is saying, especially Sukuma Wiki.
Yes.
And the coinage of Sukuma Wiki was the fact that it could actually be pushing the week, all the weeks, so that at least we can go until the end of the month when you get your salary. But now even that Sukuma Wiki is not really affordable, and the coinage maybe needs to change from Sukuma Wiki to something else, right? By the way, what's the proper name for Sukuma Wiki in Swahili?
No, I don't want to go into that, but I want to say...
we can begin from there.
I want to say two things about what my brother Okongo Morgan. It is not factual for him to say he's not in government. It is not. Because what is government? Government is made of three arms, the judiciary, the legislature, and the executive. He is in government by the virtue that
would you also be splitting hairs? Because
no, I want to allow me to develop my point.
You're the one who is because they're in the opposition. So let's not split hairs on who is in government. Let's go direct to the issue.
The legislature is the third arm of government, and he squarely sits there. And the laws that pass in Parliament, he is there. He has power as a legislator to influence how law is passed. He has the authority to convince me to vote otherwise if he thinks that, and that is why we're in Parliament. And that's why Parliament is a house of debate, and that either side has a right and a way to convince the other side to vote the other way. So he cannot run away from what is happening in this country. And these people that call themselves opposition, that died a long time ago. They are a minority, not opposition. They are supposed to come convince Parliament. Otherwise, if they feel that the policies that we tend to push are not worth the while. So Okongo, don't run away from the fact that when prices when fuel levy is moving from 8% to 16%, you are in Parliament. You watched it happen. You did not protect your people if you thought they needed protection, and therefore you take the flags as much as the UDA members will take the flags. But
secondly, before we go to secondly, let me just come. Even actually their name, the minority, it just tells you that their voice is muffled even in Parliament. They are the minority.
In the ninth Parliament,
actually we voted against.
In the ninth Parliament,
as minority we voted against, but we were defeated by the majority.
I was not in the ninth Parliament, but the ninth Parliament had around 4 people: James Orengo, just around 5 members who were actually in the opposition, but they managed to sway Parliament to vote their way. During that time. They have been given that mantle. They don't have to be many. They don't have to be majority. But if they can convince Parliament, they will be able to have what they think is good for the country pass through Parliament. So it is not about how many people they are. In the 12th Parliament, we were just a few, like 8 people. And my friend here will tell you. And when we took the position that we're going to oppose Uhuru's government, myself, Duale, Ichungwa, Didi Nyoro, we managed. They even pulled away some bills that they tried to push that time, and we held our 40, and they could not beat us. We were just 9 people in parliament, and they were the majority. In fact, they were a super majority. But there are times when they used to pull out laws. What are they doing as opposition to ensure that they could do what we did, to hold the government account and to protect the citizens of Kenya that they think they want to protect? So they can never run away. They are inept as an opposition, and I think that is where the problem of this country is. We have an inept opposition that are unable to challenge the laws, that they have given up. But when we were in opposition with my brother here, we used to sit in the same chamber. There are bills that would be brought there, and we were few, but would fight. And even the majority leader at that time would pull away a bill and say, if I push this bill forward, it will be defeated. And he would pull it away and want to negotiate, And Bandi, who used to lead the troops then, would tell Dual, this cannot pass. And we would fight it. But now you have an inept opposition that only find a voice at radio stations and television stations and not in parliament. I want to tell them to go to parliament and fight for the Kenyans the way they want to fight them in TV stations. That is one. Secondly, why has the Sukuma Wiki gone up? Many factors, but there's also one thing that I want to say I'm happy about, because the Mama Mboga, the farmer, is reaping from his effort. For many years in this country, the farmer was the poorest person in this country. The middlemen and many other people would make money and all that. And Kenyans would eat Sukuma Wiki and not even think where it has come from. But now the farmer, who is down there, who is actually the person at the lowest level of production, the farmer today can smile and take his child to school because he has sold Sukuma Wiki and made profit. The maize farmer today is able to sell his maize at the real value of the maize and is able to take care of his life at the lower level. Those people for many years who used to live a better life than the farmer are now feeling the heat because the farmer has woken up and said, no, I cannot sell my Sukuma Wiki at a throwaway price. I want to make money out of my business, out of my farming. The potato farmer is out there now making some money out of farming. What we need, probably what we had, was more of an artificial economy that was actually, at the end of the day, the people at the lowest level of production, the people that voted William Ruto right now, the farmers and the people at the lower level, are making money out of their efforts. And that is a truth. And that is why Omogen will feel very bad to go and buy Sukuma Wiki at the current price, because he wants to buy it at a lower price and oppress the farmer at the lower level,
So you are alluding that to artificial economy?
I
fail to understand, because if it's artificial economy and then now we cannot afford it, so this what will you call this economy right now?
Today, what I would like to say, you're getting value. The farmer is getting value for his produce, because you at the bar, you're actually spending the right amount of money to buy Sukuma Wiki. And that farmer today can actually take his child to school. That farmer today can actually afford a proper meal. That farmer today is able to do many other things. And when we tell you that we are looking at the bottom of the people at the bottom, at the farmers, the producers, what in the Russian language they used to call the proletariat, the people at the lower level. What are they feeling about their production, their productivity? The person who sits there whole day and tries to manufacture a sufuria out of a metal thing and is able to sell it at a price that gives him some money, that some money remains in his pocket. The person who will sit there and make a wheelbarrow and sell it and make some money, that is what we are looking at. Apart from, yes, there have been shocks, worldwide shocks about economy, especially on the fuel and many other things.
But help me understand
that have hit the common man very hard.
Help me understand.
But actually, when it comes to the agricultural, we are still pure an agrarian economy. But that agrarian economy today, the people that are producers are making money out of their effort.
And we have the producers making money out of their effort, which now the buyer cannot buy. Yes. So how then is the economy meant to actually be circulating? If the producer, you're coming with your 65 or 45 shillings, for, should I say, a bale KEL, the Sukuma wiki itself,
Yes.
that is at 45, and I cannot buy, then how will that economy circulate? Because are we considering that when it's coming from the farm as well, there is this value addition, there is the transport that is also accruing and putting that particular value of that Sukuma wiki to go up? And this is what is being asked, is this a fuel economy? Because once fuel goes up, even if the Sukuma wiki from the farm, it's affordable to Mwananchi, the cost of transport and production to take it to the marketplace as well is what.
Now, I want to say this.
So if you say that we actually now the bottom up economic, or the farmers, from the bottom up farms, so to speak, are actually getting value for their money, it means then that the higher prices is what you're calling the good economy. And the previous, where people could afford, that was the artificial economy.
Now,
which is such a dichotomy that I fail to understand. Make me understand.
I want to say this. You see, the issues of the fuel prices and the skyrocketing of the fuel prices has been explained very well by my brother Mungatana, that global shocks on fuel, and it is not just in this country. The only point that seems that my brother Mogeni keeps on is that why did we increase fuel from 8% to VAT to 16%? That's the only thing that makes the variation. But I want to also to say that the move from 8 to 16% is in such a way that why did we do that? We needed money. Where would you get money? There are two options. One, you would go out there and borrow and start paying at the highest level. Okay? Go to the market, look for the money to plug in the gap, the budget gap, and still pay that same amount of money at a higher level. And inherit our grandchildren and children with bigger debts. My friend here already knows that we have reached the debt ceiling as provided in law. We are almost at 10 trillion. So if you are in charge and you would look at, so what do? Do I go again to Parliament and request that we move the debt ceiling to now 15 trillion? Or do I look at what is it that I can do within the local economy and still get the money to plug in the gap from in the budget? So what was the best option? Okay, let's look at what we can get from 16% fuel levy, and that is one of the things. Today, Mugeni will tell you, my brother, I'm the only one from the National Assembly, that now we are grappling with an illegality in terms of the debt ceiling. The debt has gone beyond the ceiling, as we stand right now. But we inherited a debt, and I do not want to take excuses on that, but we needed a more. Either we take the debt ceiling ahead of higher on the level, or we look at what is it that we can do locally to ensure that we do not go into heavy debt as a country.
So you think now the addition of the 16% has stimulated growth somehow, and now you could be able at least to get a blip, if not a lot of money, to actually pay this particular debt? You think it's worked?
No, what I want to say is this, if you want to look at this economy from one string, only one stream, you will never understand and get
because now we're focused, but we are actually looking at the main component
of many factors.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
So if you just want to look at debt versus fuel levy and all that, you will not get it.
All right. Okay.
Yes.
Honorable Mugatana, because also we always point to the externalities, because just recently we read that fuel consumption, this is last week, between January and June dropped to the lowest levels in more than 5 years, excluding the COVID-19 pandemic period, amid high pump prices that depressed demand and pushed the middle class to keep their cars at home. Official data show that consumption of super petrol dropped 5% to 1.01 billion liters from 1.074 billion liters last year, while that of diesel fell 4% to 1.31 billion liters compared to 1.36 billion in the same period. So the question is, now we've risen that particular price to 5 shillings as it is right now. what you are targeting to raise as taxes and revenue, it is counterproductive, because those cars that you are targeting as government to actually, have this particular tax, they're parked at home in 5 years. So we are putting away COVID-19, what it really caused.
Yes, I've gotten your argument. But Ibala, I have said this before, and I'm also going to what my learned colleague had earlier on pointed out about how people are talking about this government, the Kenyans. I want to say this, and I want to say this with a lot of emphasis. I like to go and watch my wife when she's cooking, but when it comes to the point of onions, they hurt my eyes, okay? They really hurt my eyes. So I move away, and the smell is also strong for me. It makes me react in, sneeze and all that. So I move away because of the smells of the whatever thing when the cooking begins. When I sit in the sitting room and the cooking starts, now the marination and everything, I love to smell the whole thing. As the cooking is going on, the product will come. In between, there was the pain and there was the waiting. I want to encourage Kenyans that sometimes when you listen to opposition, the only thing they are telling you are the bad things. But I'll tell them again, this government has a plan. We are cooking something for them. The waiting may be painful. Sometimes the beginning is hard. Just like when you put a deposit for a mortgage for your house, it's very painful. Just like when you put a deposit to buy a matatu so that start that business, it's painful. Just like when you put a deposit to start paying school fees for university, it's painful. But over the period of time, you know what you're investing in, and you know the product is going to be good. I want Kenyans to know, we inherited a system that wasn't working, and we are trying to make things change. As we are talking now, on the infrastructure alone, we are discussing, and you put it on the news yourself today, infrastructure, the president has signed a memorandum with no other country than China, one of the biggest economies in this world, So, right now it's just on paper. Over a period of time, it's going to cook, it's going to be available for us, and it's going to get better. We have just passed the universal health care laws. We have a disintegrated system for giving health care to the lowest of the people in this country. We have passed laws, and these laws are going to anchor our plan for universal health care. When the president comes back on 20th, he's going to launch that universal health care. It's painful, and I agree. When we start, it is. But I'm telling Kenyans who are listening to me that it's going to be painful, it's going to be hard, but we are on the right path. We are having a plan. Unlike the previous administration, they started a pilot program for healthcare, universal healthcare, in 4 counties, and it didn't work because it wasn't anchored in law. We have started with a policy paper. We brought the laws, Senate has dealt with them, National Assembly has dealt with them. So we have anchored something. It's going to be tough, I'm not denying, but it's going to get better. Let's go to the cost of living. We have said the cost of living, it's basically food and fuel. On the issue of food, we are saying we are subsidizing production. And I can tell you now, the theory we have and the plan we have is that when we subsidize the farmer, we subsidize fertilizer, the production is going to be more. And Kenyans listening to me know that after the harvest, the prices of bags of maize, they went down. They went down. And you know that last week in cabinet, they approved 4 billion to pay for those farmers who had produced maize. And that means the economy, we are pumping in money into it. It is difficult. It is difficult, yes, on the side of fuel. But on the side of subsidizing the farmer, we are making some progress. We are saying, Kenyans, okay, you can blame us. Just like you blame your father when you fail to get certain amenities, when you are young in the house and you can't see some things, just trust that the Father is working hard to make sure things happen. The opposition, they have the luxury of saying everything is not working. We are telling you we have a plan, and we are not like Herbert Hoover. We have a plan, and this plan is taking time. And remember, we've only done 1 year, only 1 year, and we are putting down the policies. We are passing the necessary laws. We've done healthcare. We are discussing infrastructure, water. We are dealing with it. The president announced a plan to make sure that we have dams, over 100 wells and dams in very many places across the country. That policy is what we want to implement. I'm telling you, over a period of time, Kenyans should judge us because we've just done one circuit of budget, one budget cycle. We are telling Kenyans over a period of time, look at us. We have a plan. We are not complainers, because unfortunately for our colleagues, they only say, oh, this road is not made, the high prices, and they end there.
With all due respect,
they are not giving you a plan.
Thank you.
No, they are not giving you a plan. They are not giving you a solution. We are saying we have a plan. Give us time. Let the food cook, and you will eat a good meal. Give us time, and this is all we are asking.
So you're coming up with the plans?
The plans are there. We are implementing the plan.
Your manifesto is a plan.
No, listen.
That is what you were writing. The plan was your manifesto.
Let me tell you. There is the manifesto that you go with on elections, and then you take over government. You see the realities of government. And the realities of government now tell you, for you to have that universal health care, I need to change the law. For me to change the law, I need a policy paper. All this time, the people are still waiting for you.
Right.
Let me finish on this. Just like in the housing, we've had a problem with producing the number of, increasing the number of houses as opposed to the population. We have a plan. We are also implementing that plan, like all plans, Dibal, and I've argued this. And we are ready to be crucified because we are the people in government, but we are saying at least we are not blindly saying that we don't know where we are going. We are saying we have a housing plan, give us the money to do this, and this is how we propose to raise this money. If you think our plan is bad, give us another plan. They don't have a plan. We have a plan, and that plan we are implementing. That is my humble submissions. If Kenyans watch this space, we are going to be a better country. Come next year when the plans start yielding the desired fruits.
Come next year.
Yes.
All right. Then, Maanzo.
Well, I'm surprised by the two gentlemen. First and foremost, the current president was always in government, and he knew everything which was going on in government, and he was part of it. His people were part of the cabinet. So when it comes to, you asked him a very simple question about the purchase of fuel, which has now dropped terribly, and where they were expecting to make some money from, they are unable to make money. When you overtax, and the taxes of fuel in Kenya are up to 79 shillings, if you go to Uganda, it's a different system. I was there recently, it's much cheaper. I haven't been to Tanzania, but I have information that fuel in Tanzania is much cheaper than Kenya. What has happened in Kenya?
But not available. We've had shortages in Tanzania.
I've listened to you. Well, so what has happened here is that...
make choice.
No. You can't just say fuel in Tanzania is all over. There is a lot of fuel in Tanzania. The prices are better. What has happened, the reality in Kenya is that we have overtaxed. And in the process of overtaxing, out of poor planning, and out of a Ruto dictatorship. You know, this is a dictatorship.
No, I object to that.
This is a dictatorship.
Every taxation passes through Parliament, the National Assembly approves it, and then it can. There's no dictatorship. The State House does not raise money on its own. The power to raise money in the Constitution is in the National Assembly. Don't start throwing words.
The dictatorship is on an hijacked rubber stamp parliament.
No. Parliament is not a rubber stamp. People argue there. You lose when you lose an election. Accept it. When you lose a debate, accept it. No, there's no dictatorship.
Can he just also
no, he has to withdraw.
You
can't. Do you know what?
Just give it a time.
Do you know what is a dictatorship? Let us define.
But you've not given him time to actually...
No, but what is a dictatorship?
Substantiate his point. He's not finished his point. Would have been nice for him to finish. So that we see where is a dictatorship.
We cannot use public forums to start calling people names.
No, let me come in.
No, that's not right. You moderate properly.
To moderate properly, let him finish his point. Then you can actually get your point to countermand what he's saying. But if we find out in what context is he talking about this dictatorship. He knows what he's doing, because in Parliament he wouldn't get away with it. In Senate he wouldn't get away with those words. So he knows what he's doing, and I'm saying it's not right. Okay. When we are in public forum, let us use the correct words to describe people. Let him finish his point.
Now, yes, let me go on with my point. They talked about Finance Act. We know that it went through Parliament, and we know what happened in Parliament for that Finance Act to go through. Then we went to court about that particular issues. One of the things which happened is new clauses were introduced during debate, which never went to public participation. And that is a matter pending before court for judgment, and I believe we will soon get judgment. Now that the prices have been put high because of high taxation, Kenyans are no longer buying fuel as they used to buy. They have looked for alternative means of transport. They have carpooled, they have taken public transport, or they have walked. And that now works negatively, because whatever monies were to be raised through high taxes is not being raised at all, and the country is in a more confused state than it used to be before. When you talk of housing, I can assure you there is no land in Makueni County where you are going to do government housing. And the houses which have been there before, planned by government on government land, have never been completed for many years. So I was expecting the government first to have a budget and to complete the houses which are in Makueni County, instead of telling us we are going to do more. When it came to Machakos, where people were trying to do housing, they are demolishing people's houses so that they can do housing. And that is what I'm calling confusion and dictatorship. And therefore, you know, it is better to have a plan where you carry along all Kenyans, but not to have a plan. You hijack Parliament, you hijack judiciary, and then you pretend that you are running a nation. The truth of the matter is you have lost Kenyans. They are no longer with you. They are watching and they are waiting for the days to be over so that they can make a better decision to form a better government of people who are listening. You see, unfortunately, the country government is always saying, give us 6 months, give us 6 months, and they are not listening to the views of the people. They are only listening to the views of their supporters in the House, and they have bought members of Parliament to vote their way. They removed, when the election took place in the National Assembly, Azimio had 7 more members of Parliament. It is true people have freedom to associate, and you can change a political party if you move. But one of the policies is, if you decide to abandon your political party and go and support the ruling party, then you have to go for re-election. That didn't happen. So we have numbers, majority of numbers in the House, which have been acquired fraudulently, and the government is being run fraudulently. That's why it's unable to deliver to the people.
Fraudulent government here. People have freedom. The constitution is very clear, my friend. You know.
All right. I wanted just to come to, before you ask that particular question, because also there are issues of legislations that have been raised that we have Honorable Owen Bayer saying, you as legislators, you have the onus. Before all these bills that we're talking about, the VAT, they come through the House, and you have an opportunity to probe those issues as well. So the one that I wanted to raise was the fact that we had this particular bill on health. That's also Senate had a chance to broach that particular bill. There are concerns that have been raised, the way it has been segmented with the primary health sector, the charges in there as well.
Digital health.
The digital health as well. This,
facilities improvement, financing.
So give me the atmosphere. How was this particular bill in the Senate, and how did it sail through? Was there any opposition?
You know what, Dibal, eh? First,
because now the Senate...
I'll give you the situation room in the Senate, how things... we are all Christians, including my friend Mungatana. We were in college with him. I know him as a Christian. I'll tell you the situation room.
From college days?
Yes, from college days. In fact, even when we were student leaders, I must confess, it's Senator Mungatana who used to pray for us.
It's true.
When the situation was tough on us.
Now it's a choir master.
We were student leaders together with the former CS Munya. So we have known each other for a long time. So I know he cannot tell me off when I'm being factual and truthful. because we serve in the same house. And,
You know, he's just holding you hostage.
and that is what he's trying to do. If you want to see a government that is giving us hope up, that is getting like it's clueless, it can't have solutions to the problems facing, is when you have our whip, government whip.
No, Deputy Majority Leader.
Okay, Deputy Majority Leader.
Yes.
Telling us that we are in government.
Yes.
I mean, being on state media and you're telling Kenyans that you don't understand the separation of powers, that you have an executive, you have a judiciary, and you have legislature, which can never be part of government. You're actually telling Kenyans that you have reached a level of giving up on leadership, on government. You are the government of the day. You are the people who have been tasked with solving the myriad problems that Kenyans are facing. You cannot look at us as an excuse that I'm in government, I can't help you, I'm sorry. You are on your own. That's why you are on your own. I must tell you this, world all over, countries face recession. Countries go through economic depression. Countries have debts, including the US. But when you have debts, you don't punish your own people. Never. That's not the way you run government. I want to remind you, in 2008, when Americans faced a crisis on housing, the government gave citizens $3,000 each household. $3,000 during COVID. During COVID, the government in US was sending checks, $1,500 to Americans to cushion them. Companies, including the one run by a Kenyan in Washington, it's called Swahili something. Yes. He was given money. The government sent him money to cushion him. So you cannot be a government that wants to say we don't care about the suffering of Kenyans. Never. We look upon government to have its advocate on the people. When the people are suffering, the government must respond. You cannot say, oh, the MPs did not speak. No. The buck stops with the government of the day. That's how we know it. And you know, read history. In Ghana, there was a president called Mahama who was kicked out in 2016 by Addo. There were blackouts. When Ghanaians used to ask, he used to tell them, what do I do? There is drought. The price of cocoa dropped down. And he told them, you know, this is global. You know, they told him, okay, we'll wait for you. After 4 years, Mahama is on record as one of those presidents in Africa who have done one term. In fact, they nicknamed him Blackout Mahama because the country was in a blackout. It's like, you know, it's very soon, Kenyans will get a nickname for William Ruto. If he doesn't solve their problems, they will. You have heard what Mukatana is telling you at their planning. We shall call him the planning president. Then in 2027, we shall get an execution president, one who will plan and execute. That has been flogged. It has been flogged. I mean, you can't be telling Kenyans every time you are planning. You say, when I put the Bible, today you read the newspaper. You know what the deputy president is saying? Oh, give us 6 months. In 5 years, you would have done nothing. And the only thing the government, the people of Kenya will do is to do what they did to Edgar Lungu in Zambia. Edgar Lungu did one term. He was removed by Akahemi Echilende in Zambia. So we want to put you on notice. If you don't respond to the suffering of Kenyans, and Kenyans are suffering, whether they are in Tana River, whether they are in Mombasa, wherever, Kilifi, they are suffering. In Nyamira, they are suffering. Whether they voted for UDA, whether they voted for Azimio, Kenyans are suffering. That is a reality. You have heard the figures about middle-class Kenyans who are not able to have their vehicles on the road. I mean, you must understand that as a government, if you want to jumpstart the economy, reduce taxes on the middle class. Why is the government getting into housing? For God's sake. Taxing Kenyans to do housing, removing money from the pocket of Kenyans. As you increase taxes, you are scaring away investors. That's how economics work. Finally, on the issue of bills.
Right. Could we save the
on
bills?
The issue of bills?
Could we say the music is up? I think it's time for take a short break. Right.
But I need to tell you something about the passage of bills and our role as opposition in parliament. And the